So on this really dreary August day here in London, I'm going to interview Sadiq Khan. Now, Sadiq Khan is standing to be Labour's candidate for Mayor of London. It was originally seen to be in the bag for Tessa Jowell to become Labour's candidate for London Mayor. But the dynamics have changed, and the reason they've changed is because Jeremy Corbyn, obviously standing for Labour leadership, and what that's meant is there's been an influx of members and supporters who want to vote for Jeremy Corbyn and aren't that well disposed towards voting for someone perceived as a Blairite candidate like Tessa Jowell. So I want to flesh out Sadiq Khan. What does he stand for? What does he believe? Is he a moron? He was called that by a Blairite because he nominated Jeremy Corbyn. So we'll have a chat with him and see what he actually believes. So Sadiq, thanks for joining me on this beautiful, beautiful London day. Look at it. I want to talk to you firstly about politics. And one of the big failings of New Labour in its 13 years in power was the housing crisis. I mean, yes, there was, for example, bringing up council housing to a decent standard, but by the end of it, there was 5 million people languishing on social housing waiting lists. And in London now, you've got 1 in 4 young people growing up in an overcrowded home, with all the impact that has on, we know from all the evidence, education, health, well-being, far more likely to have everything from asthma to do worse at school.
My plan is to set up a new homes unit working for me directly in City Hall. I'm going to stand up to developers and say at least half of new homes need to be genuinely affordable. Where you either pay a social rent, and there's a formula which is linked to manual workers of £120 a week, or you pay a London living rent, which is 1/3 of the average earnings in an area. Currently, people are paying more than half of their earnings in rent. That also means saying to developers, you can't sell off-plan overseas. Look, I've got nothing against foreigners. Some of my best friends and family are foreigners, but the idea that developers sell to buyers in Hong Kong, Malaysia and Singapore before the home's been built, before Londoners have had a say in trying to buy those properties is ridiculous. They're using our homes as gold bricks. By the way, some of them are money laundering. I'm going to stop that as well. So we also got to stop this government's policies which are forcing councils to sell off 1/3 of the most expensive properties. They're forcing housing associations to sell their properties, extending right to buy.
What would you do about the fact there is rising levels of both Islamophobia and antisemitism in modern Britain? Can you think concretely what you're committed to doing to taking on the scourges of both?
Well, can I first say this? I mean, I've got many Jewish friends, but I didn't fully understand how bad anti-Semitism was until I became the Minister of Faith and Communities and Local Government under Gordon Brown. You can do a graph, rising tensions in the Middle East, anti-Semitic attacks. You can do a graph, similar graph around Islamophobia as well. It is a big problem. There's a number of things that the Mayor can do. Firstly, I've seen the lessons of Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland in 1999, population was 45% Catholic. The police was mainly non-Catholic. We said from now onwards, we need affirmative action. So when we recruit 100 police officers, at least half should be Catholic, at least half. And the police service now in Northern Ireland is very different. I want to do the same in London. Whenever we're recruited, I want to make sure at least half are Black, Asian, minority, ethnic. That will include people who are Muslim and people who are Jewish. We police by consent. If you have confidence in those who police us, you'll want to come forward and become a witness. You want to come forward and report crimes. You'll want to come forward and give evidence. But you imagine this, Owen. Imagine the message it sends around the world that London's had the confidence to elect an ethnic minority, son of immigrants, and somebody of Islamic faith in the current climate of Islamophobia you're talking about.
John McTernan, former Chief of Staff to Jim Murphy, he called you a moron. Are you a moron?
Look, I mean, can I say, I hope not. Nor do I need a heart transplant. Look, I've got no regrets at all at nominating Jeremy Corbyn. And the arrogance is that we would somehow exclude Jeremy Corbyn from being in a ballot paper and giving people the option to vote for him. And I think the reality is this, there is a certain arrogance to think my way is the right way. Why are you scared of debate? Why are you scared of having the argument? Why are you scared of bringing your passion to the game? And we've got to have an optimistic, positive future if we're going to win in 2020. You may call me a moron. You may think I'm heartless. I mean, I love this party, but I think it's really important we are civilised to each other. We treat each other with respect, and we learn the lessons of history, which is a divided party never wins elections.
One of the big threats facing humanity is climate change. You wouldn't think it sitting here in this freezing cold August day. But this is an existential threat, and the future of humanity itself is threatened. What would you do? I mean, do you have any concrete policies in terms of how you would actually take on the threat of climate change?
So firstly, I'm against runway 3 at Heathrow. You can't have a new runway at Heathrow when you want to improve air quality. I'm also going to make sure we spend more money, more of TfL's money, improving facilities for cycling in London, more segregated cycle lanes, having ultra-low emission zones, but also I'm going to lead by example. At the moment, the Mayor's pension fund invests in all sorts of things. I'm going to divest us investing in fossil fuels. Instead, I'm going to lead by example, have renewable energies in London, have energy efficient London, making sure we have the new generation of homes that are built in London that are sustainable, making sure we have the next generation of buses that are electric buses.
So two last things. As Mayor, how would you take on and use that hugely powerful position as Mayor of London to challenge Tory austerity and the consequence that has?
There is a narrative being built up where if somehow you criticise austerity, you're a left-wing extremist, right? And so it's ridiculous. There are many people who criticise austerity policies. Barack Obama is one of those. There are Nobel Prize winners who criticise some of the austerity policies. I want to copy what Rahm Emanuel's done in Chicago, an infrastructure bank to invest in infrastructure. We need a Crossrail 2. I was the Minister in charge of Crossrail 1. We need to extend the Bakerloo line. We need trams in London. We need electric buses. We need to make sure we have skills for Londoners, which means we work with big business saying, look, can you help us train up the next generation of skilled workers in your places of work? We need an immigration policy that's open and fair. So if you've got something to offer our city, you can come to our city. We need a university to be able to get students from overseas rather than them going to Canada and Australia and other parts of the world. So, I mean, sometimes working with our government, but sometimes arguing against the government with Londoners on my side.
And lastly, Zach Goldsmith he's a formidable.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Who's he? He is a formidable candidate. You know, he's this charismatic maverick Tory. He challenges his own leadership, particularly on things like Heathrow. That's a tough one. That's going to be a tough fight.
Where's the evidence of the last 5 years? Zach Goldsmith gets the social cleansing his government's policies, of course, which he voted for, the bedroom tax, which he supports. You can't over 5 years support a coalition government, vote with all their policies, then, when you become the mayoral candidate, suddenly become independent minded. I think London's a thoroughly decent city, but over the last 4 mayoral elections, Labour's only won 1 mayoral contest, and I want to change that. If you have bold and radical policies, you can win the votes of Londoners. I'm a candidate with bold and radical policies. I'm hoping to win the selection and then win the election.
Cheers, Sadiq.
My pleasure. Cheers, Owen.